Oh, we are live. Okay. Hello, everybody. This is Joyce from BoQ Creations. We are now live this evening. I'm on just a little bit early. I'm going to put that over there. Okay, there we go. Hello, everybody. This is Joyce from BoQ Creations. I am on just a little bit early tonight. I want to find this broadcast and then copy and paste the link to our Facebook page so that we can have all of our friends here. Join us here tonight on our live broadcast. How about that? I'm still new to this whole YouTube live. I did Facebook for 5 years, and I'm just not sure how all this works. I want to see some comments. I don't know how to get my comments up because that is one thing that I'm still struggling with. So I'm just hoping that I can find my comments this evening. They just kind of magically appeared last time, and I'm not sure how that happened, but let's see if we can't magically appear tonight. So, we'll see. Let's see. I've got our broadcast up, I think. If anybody is out there in YouTube land this evening, can you please comment so I can find our comments on our video? So let's see. They just kind of come up. I don't know. It's like very random. I don't know where they are, but I'm going to try. Let's see. I'm live streaming right now. Let's see if I can get the comments up. Languages, setting. See comments. Okay, let's see if these are the comments. Oh, that's 5 days ago. Okay, let's find today's video. View on YouTube. Yes. So I'm going to mute us. There we go. Hopefully. I see 7 people watching. Hold on a minute. I'll acknowledge you as soon as I find my comments. All right, let's see. 7 people are watching this evening. If you're watching, please comment so I can see if we are live. Let's see. We're not going to pause. We're going to play. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, I want to see some comments. Let me see if they're over on OBS. I can see us here on OBS, so we are still streaming. Okay, well, I don't know how to get the comments, but we will if I'm missing. Oh, wait a minute. Did they just pop up? Diana Noggle, Ann Hassan, Carmen Torres, Carmelita, I need to call you. I owe you a big mea culpa. Sybil, hello, everybody. Okay, so it looks as though we are here live, and I can see your comments. TGIF, welcome to the live chat. Remember to guard your privacy and abide by community rules. Ooh, I've never seen that before. Okay, so tonight I am going to show you guys some really probably old-fashioned techniques with embossing folders. Hopefully they are not so old that you have forgotten. I'm going to, let's see. Am I lagging behind you guys? It seems like I'm not with the program. Let's see. Am I with the program? I am live. Okay. Live. There we go. Let's see. Video comments. That was from the other day, so that's not that one. All right, so I want to see us live. How come I can't see us live? Oh, well, I'm just going to go on with the show. Anything that can and will happen does when we're live. So, you know, that's the way it goes. That's what happens when we're live. But I see that Diana Noggle is on and Ann Hassan. Hello, you guys. And Carmen. All right, let's see. Okay. So I think we're caught up, maybe. I just want to, let's see if I have volume. There we go. That was from the other day, so that's not that one. I'm a little behind. Why is that? All right, so I want to see us live. How come I can't see us live? It's like going back in time. Oh, well, I'm just going to go on with the show. Anything that can and will happen does when we're live. See, so, you get to hear it in replay. That's the way it goes. And you get to hear it in replay. All right, here we go. Okay, so tonight I'm going to have some what I call magic. Hi, Bobby. How are you? Good evening. Thank you for joining us, you guys. Okay, so tonight I am going to... okay. Can you guys see me okay and hear me okay? We're good? All right. Okay. So, let's see if it will post a comment to y'all. Thank you for... oh, look, it did. It did post. Okay, good. All right, so tonight I'm going to show you some magic with some embossing folders. And I call it magic because these are plastic little pieces of diamond gold. If you guys have not broken out your embossing folders in a couple of months, years, days, weeks, forever, you need to break them out again because I'm going to show you a couple of techniques tonight that is hopefully, if you've seen this before, you're going to remember and you're going to say, oh my gosh, what an easy way to do my Christmas cards. Or you're going to say, oh, Joyce, that's so last year. So hopefully you'll say, wow, that's magic. Okay. So the first one I wanted to show you, these are some of my faves. Do you see how this one kind of has an oval here in the middle? You know, it kind of has this oval effect here where you could put something, you know, I'm just getting my white ink off of here so that you can kind of see that oval there. And I could put something in there. I wanted to show you guys how I did that. Hi, Bethany. How are you? So I wanted to show you how I did this because this is something that eluded me for many, the replay is wild. Yeah, I know, Bobby. I'm not going to do that anymore. It's like you get to hear me say the same thing twice. Isn't that fun? This eluded me for a long time, how people could get an embossing folder around like a circle or an oval or something like that. So I thought that I would show you guys how that's done. It's been a while since I did that technique and I just love it. I just love how neat it is. And so I thought that I would show you guys how that is done. Okay, let me show you. Tim Holtz, back in the day, came out with these. They also came with this piece so that you could choose to protect your embossing folder, or you could choose to run it through and have this part, just the part that is the embossing folder. So I wanted to show you how this was done because a lot of people have asked me. Hi, Jennifer. Maybe you'll break out. Oh, that's a great idea. Jennifer says she'll break out her embossing folders while she's watching. So I wanted to show you all how to use these because this was one of those things that made me frustrated almost to the point where I threw them out. In fact, I think I got rid of my first set at a yard sale just because I didn't know how to use them. So I'm going to show you guys tonight how to achieve that look. All right. So the first thing is that you need to have your embossing machine or your die cut machine. You need to have it set correctly. So I don't know how your sandwich is, but on the Big Shot machine, you have to flip over tab 2 and just be on tab 1. That's how, hi Annie, how are you? So that's how I did mine, okay? I'm going to take a regular embossing folder, not a 3D, okay? This is very important. A 3D embossing folder will not work for this particular technique because it is too thick. And at the time that Tim Holtz did these embossing folders, he didn't realize that, you know, these were not going to work for regular embossing folders. So let me just cut my cardstock down real quick. I had it all set up and then I used it and now I got to cut it down. Thank goodness that my BFF gave me a new trimmer because this trimmer is amazing. Okay, so let me move this over so you guys can see. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to take your piece of paper and you're going to put it in your regular embossing folder just like you would for any other reason. Hi, Leanne. How are you? You put it in your embossing folder just like you would any other ordinary embossing folder technique, okay? You put the hinge first. You always put your hinge first into the machine because it will make it, it puts a lot of pressure. And if you don't put your hinge in first, what's going to end up happening is over time, it will break this hinge. So that's a little FYI. Okay. Now, if I ran this through like this, it would go through with just the embossing folder, the embossing folder texture. But if I take these and I lay it on top and I center it in my paper, you know, because I'm looking at the embossing folder underneath, and I'm just trying to make sure that my circle is not necessarily even with my embossing folder, but that the circle is even with my paper. And I'm going to lay it directly on top of my, I should have put my plate underneath. Yeah. I'm going to lay it directly on top of my embossing folder. So the paper is inside the embossing folder. And now this thing is on top of my embossing folder. Okay. So this is going to act like my plate. So as I push this into my die cut machine, I'm actually going to push this through my die cut machine and just roll this through just like this. And it's going to do two different things. It's going to emboss my paper inside of the embossing folder and leave me with a circle in the middle of my image. So if I did it right, which I did, you can see that the image is not embossed where that circle was. Do you see that? And I just flipped it over on the back so that you could see it better because on this dark piece, you can't really see it. So that is how you use these things. Now, guys, I'm going to tell you, if you can find these at a yard sale, they are worth their weight in gold. They are no longer made anymore, I don't think. And I love these because that gives me that embossing image without something in the middle there. I'm going to use this one to show you how to do that. So let me grab another piece of paper. I want to get a dark one so that you can see. How cool is that? Did you guys know that? Have you ever used those before? Let's see. So 5 1/4 by 4. I'm making sure that my card base is nice and... All right. So I'm going to do the same exact thing, except I'm only going to use the circle. Diana says, well, I want one. If I could get you one, I honestly would. But I don't think these are made anymore. And it's such a shame because they are absolutely amazing. Okay, so here's my little circle. All right. And I'm going to push this in to my die cut machine just like I did before. And I'm going to, oops, with this one, I need to put the thing on top. I forgot. See, this is probably why they are no longer made, because they were really difficult to figure out. They gave you a really good effect, but yeah, it was hard to manage them. And I think people just kind of didn't really understand. Okay, you've never seen that before, Jennifer? You mean to tell me that I showed you something new tonight? Holy guacamole. Okay, now you see that this did the, oops, don't fall back there. This did the absolute opposite. It only embossed in that circle right there. Do you see that? Hi, Terry. So do you see? So I'm going to show you a trick. I wanted to show you these, but I'm going to show you a trick tonight with these panels. So this one was the oval, or I'm sorry, the plate like this. Okay, so it embossed everywhere except that circle. And then I ran it back through the machine with only the circle, and it did not emboss anywhere else other than where the circle was. How neat is that? Isn't that cool? Okay, so if you happen to have a set of these and you have not dug them out or you don't know how to use them, let it not be said that I taught you something tonight. So these are really cool, especially if you want to put a sentiment inside or something like that. I think these were along the way before we had the kind that you can put your dies in, and, you know. So I'm just going to prep a couple of these because I want to show you guys a couple of tricks. So here is another one that I just did. It's a regular embossing folder. I just ran it through and that was it. And then there's this one that I want to show you. This is a 3-dimensional embossing folder. These give people a really, really difficult time because these came out later than the machine's instructions did. So a lot of times it would give people a really hard time about how to use them because there's no instructions on the embossing folder about how you can, use them. So I've got another piece of paper here. I'm using all of my 6x6s tonight because so I need to do 5.5 by 4.25. And then I'll probably cut it down. Okay, so 3D embossing folders. Some of them you can put in your embossing machine on the first tab and just one plate. Some of them you have to open it up all the way. So the only way to know whether or not your machine will accept it is to start putting it through. And if you have to really work hard to get that through there, don't force it through your machine, guys. Just take and loosen it up a little bit. Okay, do not break your machine trying to do a 3D embossing folder. It should run through that smoothly. Okay, so you can see that I have the image already embossed on here, and so I'm not gonna, it is really, really pretty. Show you a cool technique with that in a minute. Okay, and then I wanted to make a guy card this evening. I wanted to make a masculine card. So BoQ Creations now has this new embossing folder, and it is super cool. It's got little screws, and it is a 3D embossing folder, and it's really, really neat. It's got a lot of texture on there. So I'm going to grab a piece of Minte. I have this gorgeous masculine paper from, which by the way is still available at BoQ. It's Mr. Fix-It. So I really like this. It has, it's got a 12 by 12, but it's got a lot of masculine blues and dark browns, and it's just a really cool paper pack. So I'm going to just grab one of these pieces of paper that don't really have much in the way of patterns. It's just kind of dark and grungy looking. That's the same piece. Look at that. That must be the piece that I need because I looked at it twice. Okay. So let me just give this a slice here. Okay, 4 by 5 1/4 is what I'm going to make this. I think I'm going to use this side. Yeah. I have to think for a minute because I don't know which way I want to make it, you know? Okay. So again, we're going to put this into the embossing machine. This is a 3D embossing folder, and I'm just going to run it through like I would normally on any embossing folder. There we go. That's a little tight. You're going to love the texture on this one. Oh my gosh, it's so amazing. Are slightly thinner than Sizzix and Tim Holtz. Probably 3D are slightly thinner than Sizzix and Tim Holtz. Probably everything not Stampin' Up. 3D folders, that's one way to tell. Yeah, thank you, Leanne. That is a good way of doing it, because the 3D embossing folders, if you hold them side by side, you will see that they are super thick. So, yeah. Okay. There we go. All right, we've got those. Let me get the machine out of the way so that we can get to doing some really cool stuff tonight. Okay. So again, if you see these, they're called embossing diffusers. That's what they're called. Embossing diffusers. And there's 3 of them in a pack. They have one with a circle, one with a little oval for you to stamp directly on there to put your sentiment, and then one with a big oval. So these are from Tim Holtz. They're just called embossing diffusers. So if you can find them, they're a really cool tool to have. Sorry to show you things that you can't get, but it was just part of the techniques for tonight. Okay. The first thing I want to show you is this pattern that I just did on regular white paper, okay? This is the side that I would normally use, but I'm going to flip this over, I think, yeah. Yeah, I think. Let me think on that for a minute, because I can't remember if we flipped it over. I'm pretty sure I flipped it over. Because we want, yes, I did. Okay. I had to think for a minute. All right, so I'm going to use an Olo. I have my alcohol marker here, and I'm just going to color on my paper here, and I'm going to color my petals. And if I've done this right, you're going to see probably one of the coolest techniques that you've ever seen. And it doesn't matter. You just want to stay inside of these lines. Okay, I'm just going to go around here and I'm just going to color. Okay, I think I've done this correctly. Let me show you. If I've done it correctly, then I should be able to take my black ink pad and swipe over this. Yes, I did do it correctly. Okay, good. So, okay, let's go back. Jennifer, can you edit that out of the video? Jennifer's like, listen, Joyce, I can't make miracles, okay? All right, so I have, let me find, have you ever seen this little texture boutique machine? It looks like this. This is only for embossing. It comes with 2 little plates like this and a shim. I couldn't think of what it was called. And it's strictly for embossing. There's not enough pressure in this machine to die cut. So if you are getting one of these machines and you're planning on die cutting it, I hate to tell you this, but it's not going to work. Okay? You cannot die cut with that machine. And I'm not going to do the full embossing. Yes, I am. Why not? I can totally do that. All right, I'll just do the whole embossing folder. Why not? And this is, like I said, this is just a regular embossing folder, and you build the sandwich much like you would a regular machine, and it just goes through just like a regular embossing machine, except you turn the handle like a million times, and it seems like it's takes forever to go through. But nonetheless, it is great for embossing. That is its only function in this whole wide world is to emboss. So it's a great little thing if you're taking it to a crop or whatever, you know, but again, they're, you know, if you already got the big machine, what do you need the little one for? All right. So this would normally be the side that I would color on, but because I want to do this technique, I probably should use a light pink just because I want to. So normally I would color on this side, the embossed side, but today I'm going to color on the debossed side. And you can actually be kind of haphazard with this. You don't even have to like color perfectly, because guess what? We're going to go over this in just a minute with black ink. And I know you guys are like, what is going on? Like, I don't even know, Joyce. This is no bueno. So you're just going to kind of color it with your markers. And again, you don't even have to be perfect with it. You just want to stay inside of the embossed line. I'm going to grab a little bit of a darker pink just because I want some contrast here. Now, this is not my masculine card that I'm going to do, but I'm just kind of showing you, you know, how I'm going to color this. And again, you don't even have to be perfect about this. This is the cool part about it, you know, like you can just haphazardly do this. It doesn't even, you don't even have to be perfect about it. You just kind of color it in and make sure that you have gotten your, you've gotten these parts. This is the part that you want, the debossed parts, right? So you can color those in. You just want to make sure that you get the ink kind of everywhere, because the pattern that this makes, just using your plain old Olo markers or your Copic markers, it's really, really cool. Okay. I'm just going to add a little bit more right in here on my center of my flower, because I want some of that color to come through. There we go. All right, now, so I am just going right inside of those debossed edges. See? Right inside of those edges. Now, watch this. This is the magic. This is the magic. I got to get that right there too. Okay. Here comes the magic. Okay. I just want to make sure I'm getting all inside of those ridges there, because that's probably your most important part. All right, now I'm going to put a piece of paper underneath there, because I'm probably, or paper towel, because I'm probably going to get messy here in a sec. All right. Now, this is the part you guys are probably going to freak out about, but Fabulous Cards, I made it. Hello, everyone. So tell me who Fabulous Cards is. So then you're going to take your well-inked ink pad, black, and I know you guys are going to go, what is going on? Oh my gosh, what is she doing? Look at that, you guys. How magical is that? Do you see why you're not worried about going out of the lines? Because you need to make sure that you have gone inside of your lines. And there you have. Oh, hi, Teresa. Yes, Teresa does have Fabulous Cards. And then the coolest part about it is if you find that you didn't get enough ink in there, then you just go back in here and mark it, you know, just fill it in. I love this technique. This is probably one of upwards of one of my favorite techniques with embossing folders. I just think that this technique can just be used with any kind of embossing folder, but I specifically like it with ones that have large images like this. How cool is that? Isn't that amazing? And so you're just using a regular embossing folder. Oh, it's okay. No problem. I see the T. I just didn't know who the T was. So that is one of my favorite embossing folder wow techniques, because it just takes that regular embossing folder to a new level. And if people didn't know better, they would swear that you did that on black cardstock. So that's what I love about this. You're like, no, actually it was white, and we use the opposite side of what we normally do. So that's one that I'm going to show you. So then I started thinking one day, I thought, you know, if I can do that technique, if I can do this with white cardstock and embossing folder, what would happen if I used white ink and colored paper? So I tried it. I thought, you know, that is a really, really good idea to see if you can. Look at that. This was one that I embossed earlier in the broadcast. And this is why I am not at all worried about my white that showed through, because it was pattern cardstock. So I am just using my white ink pad to go over all of that texture, and I am not pressing at all. I highly recommend, guys, if you're going to do this, re-ink your white cardstock. Re-ink your white ink pad, because you don't want to press down on this. You just want to, this was my one with a 3D embossing folder. So you just want to lightly go over it. And then if you wanted to hit it with embossing powder of some sort or glitter or something like that while it's still wet, you could absolutely do that. So how cool is that? Thank you, Carmen. So that is our second of tonight's techniques that I think is embossing folder magic to me. Then I wanted to also show you with this one right here. This is the one we did with the circle. So, whoa, somebody's got their music on. It's rattling my windows. So I thought to myself, if I could do this with black, I wonder what would happen if I just kind of kissed this a little bit with the black. I don't know. I'm going to try it. I like this circle here. I'm just going to kind of kiss it. There we go. Just like that. And I'm going to continue because I've already messed it up. I might as well go ahead and there we go. Let me get my paper towel. I'm kind of nervous about getting ink all over the place. All right. So I'm just going to continue to swipe this black ink on my cardstock, just like I did earlier. But I had an embossing folder. There we go. Now, I know you guys are probably going, oh my gosh, Joyce, why would you do that? Well, I'm going to show you something in just a second that we're going to do with this. Now, mind you, this was done with that round circle that was left from the embossing folder from the diffusers. So I'm just kind of like going around. Now, we're going to let this sit for a minute. We're going to let it get dry. I think that is super cool. I know, it's like when we tried this before, it got all over everything. So it was kind of fun. So we're going to let these dry for just a minute, and then I'm going to show you a little trick with that. Okay. Then, you know, we have our guy card right here. This was the one that I did on the Mr. Fix-It paper from Minte. So I'm going to do the same with the black ink as we did on this one, except I'm not going to do the whole page. I'm just going to go down the center and just highlight some of that because this was a 3D embossing folder. And so what a 3D embossing folder does is it has different levels of texture. So some parts of the embossing folder are more raised than others. And so you can see as I rub this ink pad over the embossed image, it's picking up some of the texture, but not all of it. Look at that. How grungy and cool is that for a guy? Isn't that neat? Oh, my camera moved. Sorry, guys. What is going on here, camera? What is going on? Are you awake? Sorry, guys. I think my camera went into sleep mode. Let me just verify that it is still... hold on just a second. I don't want it to move while you guys are watching because it will... All right, camera, why are you not staying there? Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. The camera just went... It was following my hands, I think. So, you know, you can see that that is a really super cool guy card. It looks a little bit grungy. You know, I think that's a little neat for a guy. You could do that with a brown or any kind. You don't have to use black. It's just that I happen to have black and white sitting here tonight. So, all right. So a little bit of grunge, a little bit of 3D. I think it's still, all right. It'll fix. We're just lagging a little bit behind. All right. So we have at least 4 different ways that we have used an embossing folder at the moment. So, all right. So I've got this last one here that I wanted to do in white. I don't want to do this one in black. Let's say I'm doing a Christmas card. Okay. I want to make sure that my white is beautiful. Ink your ink pad first, guys. That's the trick. Because what's going to end up happening is if you don't have a very well inked ink pad, then you tend to push hard. And then, you know, you kind of get ink where you don't want it. So if you have an ink pad, like I like to use the small 1-inch cubes when I do this because I feel like I have better control than a big ink pad. But if you don't have a small 1-inch cube, then just get yourself a baby wipe, and then you can go in and just kind of clean up some of those edges or some of those things that, you know, that are a little not desirable. So if you feel like you smeared or smudged, just go in there with a baby wipe and kind of, you know, smear it around, and it's going to look great anyway. Okay. So you can really see that circle right there where it doesn't have any embossing in it. You can really tell that's a really nice circle there in the middle. So you can really see it there. All right, let's see. Yeah, the cool grunge. I agree. Okay. Now, remember I said we were going to go back and revisit this one? Let me show you something with these. If you do this one completely in black, and then you decide that, oh, it's a little bit too dark for me and I don't really like it, guess what? If it's nice and dry, I'm going to just hit it with my hair dryer tool here. Whatever. Just going to make sure that this is nice and dry because I don't want any of this black ink appearing on my ink pad. So I'm just going to take this real quick because this is VersaFine. So it should be okay. And I'm going to take my white ink pad and I'm going to kiss this in stripes. Watch. Look at that. How neat is that? Now, if this was not a Christmas card or I was doing this in red or, you know, some other color like that, this would be so amazing. In black, it looks good, but it's not Christmassy. But you can kind of see that you can get different effects with your embossing folders and your ink pads, just some plain old white and black ink pads. Look at that. And I can go over this. I can even come in here with my baby wipe if I want to, and I can just kind of wipe off some of that white and get some varying levels of black and white in there. So that is a super cool way to make sure that your embossing folders get used with a little bit of grunge. Okay. Love that look. I absolutely love that look. Now, there's one last thing that I want to show you. I've showed you Embossing Magic with 3D embossing folders. And actually, I'm just going to kiss this one time with some white ink just to give it a little bit of, there we go. I like that. I've showed you Embossing Folder Magic with, there we go, with pattern paper and 3D embossing folders. I've showed you Embossing Magic with regular white paper and an embossing folder on the opposite way. I've showed you pattern paper with an embossing folder and white ink, which, by the way, that is super cool because you've got the background from the paper, which kind of look like snowflakes to begin with. And then you've got the white ink on top. So that one looks really cool. You've got kind of a grungy look here that gives you maybe a driftwood kind of effect, if that's what you're looking for. If you have one of those wood embossing folders, this is an amazing technique with that. You just swipe that white ink on there after you do your black, and as it dries, it kind of mixes in and gives you a really cool shade of gray, which I kind of like. And then I showed you how to do those embossing diffusers, okay? Now I'm going to show you what it looks like when you use black cardstock. That's the thing I want to show you. Okay, Embossing Magic, guys. That's what I'm talking about tonight. These take your embossing folders to another level. So I'm going to get 5.5 by 4.25 panel. I'm going to run it through a regular embossing folder, one that we have not used yet tonight. So that is going to be this little poinsettia one. And we're going to use our embossing tool. There we go. Let me get my plates for that one. I kind of like this little machine. It's not as heavy as some of the other, as my big machine. So sometimes I can just, you know, throw the embossing folder in it. But again, you have to have, you know, another machine. Are we still on, you guys? I hope I haven't seen any comments. In just a minute. This takes like 47 cranks to get through here. I should count it one day. How many cranks? How many cranks does it take to get through your embossing machine? Like Tootsie Rolls. You know, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Roll? Did we ever figure that out? I don't know. Okay, so here is my here's my embossing folder. That's just a regular embossing folder. It's not a 3D embossing folder. And you can take your white ink onto this black cardstock. Watch this. Very light, you guys. Very light, because you're going to see this will give you a chalkboard effect. And then I'm going to show you something else in just a second. We're going to put this white ink on it, okay? And I'm just going to try to use the corner of my ink pad because I don't want to get it where it's not supposed to be. It really likes the center of that for some reason. Okay. And I'm not going to panic because I got a baby wipe, you guys. We can wipe this if my baby wipe was wet. We can wipe this excess off. No big deal, but we're not going to worry about that because I'm going to show you something in just a second. Okay. So I'm going to dry this for just a minute because I don't want this wet when I go to do my next thing. Just got to make sure this is pigment ink, so you want to make sure. Sure, you could use another color, Annie, but for this particular one, I've done it on craft with red. I've done it on black with a darker color. So I'm not even concerned about it because I'm going to take my alcohol inks. Watch this. So you want to make sure that it is completely dry, that you have no wet ink left. And you can take your embossing, alcohol ink, and you can go over this and you can color onto your cardstock. So this is kind of the reverse of what we just did a few minutes ago with the painting it all black. So you can totally go over the white on your cardstock, but I have to stress to you guys, make sure that your ink is dry, because if it's not, it's going to be all over the tip of your marker. Okay? But this is a really cool way to get you some color on a piece of black cardstock that makes it really, really neat. So let me grab a green, because I've got some leaves here. I can just run this right down. Look at how beautiful that green shows up on there. Isn't that neat? I just love the way this turns out. This is almost like magic to me, because you just take it and color right over top of your white ink that you put on there. And the image is standing out because it's embossed. See that? How amazing is that? And you don't even have to worry about coloring out of the lines either, because guess what? It just kind of disappears onto the cardstock and then you don't see it. So how beautiful is that? I mean, seriously. Isn't that neat? Oh, there goes the camera again. It's going into sleep mode. I'm going to have to take it out of sleep mode. It's like, no, I don't like it like that. We'll just stay like that. Please, little bot. Thank you. Okay. So anyway, that is another way of adding some color. Just make sure you guys can see that. Isn't that beautiful? And if I didn't want, like if I thought that, I didn't like that, I could certainly take one of my tools and just kind of go over that, like my distress tool. I could do that, but I kind of like that grungy look. I kind of like it's almost like a chalkboard. It's almost like a chalkboard effect. Just like that. How beautiful is that? I just think that is gorgeous. Leave some of it done, some of it not done. Why not? Look at that. Isn't that great? Let me bring that up to the camera, because I don't think we can appreciate the color on that. See that? See how it's green and pink versus the white over here? So you could do either one. You could leave it like that, or you could, color some of it. But how beautiful is that? Put a couple of gems on there and a sentiment and you are done. So tonight talked about diffusers. I love the diffusers. We talked about using black and white ink with your embossing folders. We talked about grunge and 3D embossing folders and how beautiful that texture can come out in your embossing folders. We talked about using a regular piece of white cardstock, flipping it over on the deboss side, coloring in your crevices, and then covering the whole thing with black. That's how we got that. Isn't that beautiful? Talked about using pattern paper and your white inks to kind of smooth over it, and then you get that gorgeous 3D effect on top of the pattern paper. That is so beautiful. I just inked a background, embossed, and added the white pigment. It was beautiful. Thank you, Jen. You'll have to post a picture on the BoQ crew. So guys, I just wanted to make you aware that if you do one of these techniques, please share it with us on the BoQ crew. You can absolutely post pictures of what you do on the BoQ crew on Facebook, so we all can see what you're doing with your newfound love of embossing folders and embossing magic. Don't forget about, just using your black and white ink to create a driftwood kind of effect. And you can see I use the diffuser right there. I think that's kind of gorgeous. Here's the opposite. That one was the one with the hole in it, and that was the hole diffuser. So you can see that it definitely leaves you a spot to put something, a message or whatever. And then our magic. So there we go. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and do all the things. Sprinkle the love. I'm not even sure what they're calling it these days, but whatever it is, I hope you will share and let people know how fabulous we are at BoQ Creations and how much you all love what we do here. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope you will get your embossing folders out and try some of these techniques. You will be surprised when you do these techniques with other colors, browns, pinks, purples, whatever colors that you have. And if you do one on craft, oh my gosh, that is absolutely gorgeous. So go and try your embossing folders and post a picture on the BoQ crew, and then like and share this video so that we can bring you more of this kind of content. Hope you all have a wonderful evening. Give a shout out for our virtual crop that's coming up in January. You guys, we are filling up. The seats are getting taken. We are almost to the end of the first 15 that sign up, get free product, $45 worth. You guys, this is our first virtual crop. We're so excited and hope you'll be able to join us in January. All right. Have a great evening. Go try some embossing magic and post it over on the BoQ crew. Joyce, do you have other embossing folder videos posted? I do not yet, but you can guarantee that there are some coming. Thank you so much, Teresa, for asking, and I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful evening. You know what? Try to put some of that pigment ink, and then throw some embossing powder on it. Looks fabulous. All right, guys, have a great evening. We'll talk to you later. Bye.